How's it, traders? Welcome back to Paradigm Flip. Hope you're all doing well. I haven't posted in a while. I've been very busy doing a lot of things here and there, and one of those things was trying to figure out what direction I'm going to take this channel in, right? And I thought I'd just drop a video, let you guys know that I'm fine, and also to update you on some moves that have been happening in the market. And today we're going to be looking at some interesting movement on Euro USD. There was some lovely movement this Monday and some really great setups. Now we're going to be breaking it down and we're going to be looking at the momentum trade that came to fruition today. And hopefully, you guys can once again gain some insight into what I'm looking at when I'm looking at my momentum trades. Now, we're here on Euro USD and we are on a 5-minute chart. And the first thing coming into the day, as always, right, we're going to be understanding and analyzing the trend. Right now, it's obvious that the trend is up. Don't take my word for it. Go and look at what Euro USD has been doing since last week. You'll see that the trend currently is up from a technical standpoint, and it's not our job to pick tops and bottoms, right? We always going to be trading in the direction of the trend and going with the momentum of the market. Now, Now, another thing that we're going to be looking at coming into today's trading, we're going to be looking at last week's market profile or Friday's market profile because we're trading on Monday. So last week on Friday, we're going to be looking at that market profile and we're just going to be trying to get an idea of where all the volume is and where all the levels are, right? And you'll notice that off the bat, we have the strong level. You can see there was a lot of trade, right, that took place around this area. Okay. Now Monday opened up with a gap, right? And initially from the gap, we saw a lot of selling, right? So there's a lot of mean reversion, right? That was taking place to fill this gap. Now you'll find a lot of traders that are looking for this gap to be filled, right? Are anticipating price to actually trade lower, okay? And there would obviously be nothing wrong with that, okay? But we always want to understand what's happening in the market closer to the right hand edge of the market, right, as it's developing, right, in order for us to understand which way we want to be trading going forward during the day. And although we got this move lower, right, in an attempt to fill in the gap, right, you'll notice that we also have this area of volume as well. Okay, so this is also a very strong level that we can um, have our eyes on. And the first thing you'll notice is that price reacts to this area, and this actually becomes the area where price rejects off of. Now, we don't have to take a trade exactly off this level because at this point we don't have any information, right, that tells us to buy. Okay, because as you can see, we just trade into this level and all of a sudden we get this accumulation, right, happening. Okay, so this would already tell us that we have sellers at lower prices. Okay, and we'd be anticipating that move lower. Okay, so if you were initially thinking that this gap is going to get filled, you wouldn't be wrong. Okay, but where does that narrative flip? Okay, and it flips at the point where we reject the level and we begin to start trading higher. Now, at this point, whoever was selling in this area is now out of their position, okay, and these buyers are in control. Now, if you just understand based on last week's trading day, right? Okay, right, we're interested in where all the money is, and all the money is in these areas, right, where these volume nodes are. Okay, now, if you understand where price is at this point in time, right, um, we would definitely be above the mean of all the volume, right? So meaning that if we had to divide this chart into buyers and sellers, right, and we assume that sellers are in this region, right, and buyers are in this region, right, you'd understand at this point in time, right, most of the sellers are actually losing money because if their average position is located in here, when price is in this area, okay, these sellers are actually upside down, majority of them, okay, and these buyers are in a very strong position, and obviously you want to be trading in the direction where the money is going, okay, and also, right, in addition to that, right, we got we got our large volume node at this level, okay, and then we have this key level here. Now, in addition to looking at the previous week's volume, we also want to understand where the volume is as we are going forward, because in price, when it comes to the market, the most recent data is what's actually important, right? All of the past data, right, is only valid until it's not, right? So we want to understand how price is developing in real time, okay? And we also want to be looking at where the volume is, right? So we know that on a larger scale, right, based on last week's trading, right, the volume, the sellers are trapped, okay? Now, if we have to draw a market profile from where we opened up until that point in time, right, where we saw that all these sellers, right, got wrecked, okay, what you'll notice is that we have a volume node, right, in this area, okay, so this volume that we previously spoke about, okay, when price comes to retest that area, okay, we're going to be looking at possible longs off that area. If we break below it and retest from below, right, that'll be a shorting opportunity. Okay, but at this point in time, right, you can see that price is retesting it from above. Okay, so shorts are not in the picture at this point in time. Now, this could obviously change at any point, but at the current moment in time, right, no selling was in the picture. Okay, and if we just develop this idea as we're going forward, right, as we're getting this pullback, right, so we know we're looking for that pullback, right, and as price is developing, you can also see that volume develops, right, if we just shift our volume profile across price as it's developing, okay, right, the volume in nodes will also develop, and you can see that as the volume develops, right, we can see at this point in time, okay, all the volume is now at this area, right? So this is now where the majority of the volume is, meaning that this is where the most trade is taking place, right? So the most buyers and sellers, right, are actually at this point in time. So below this level, right, sellers are actually making money, okay, because the average of their position is at this area, and above this level, buyers are making money and sellers are losing money, right? And what we actually get is that price trades below this level and we get a rejection, right? Let me just draw that in yellow so we can see it better, right? Price trades below that level, right, at this point in time, and we get a rejection. Okay, so now we are just ahead of the open, okay, and what you can see is that we got a rejection of lower prices, okay, and at this point in time now, we found that there are no sellers at lower prices, okay, because if there was selling at lower prices, price would actually hold below this level. Okay, you would find two-way money below this level, but instead you get a rejection that indicates that we have no selling at lower prices, or right, there's an influx of buying at this area that overwhelms the selling. Okay, and when we break above this level at this point in time now, all the buyers, right, operating in today's trading range, right, as the trading range is developing, right, all these buyers, right, are now making money and the sellers are losing money, right? And what you actually get now at this point in time, right? If we just zoom into this, we just zoom into this a little bit, right? So you got your level here, right? And you got the high at this point in time, right? So when we are at this point in time, we have the daily high, right? That gap up, and then we started to trade lower, okay? And then what we get is price trading lower, right? We trade into this previous volume, okay? Right? And we reject lower prices. Okay. Now at this point, okay, we got a few swing points, right? Now these swing points are basically areas where they're selling. So when price opened up and gapped higher, right, and we saw the selling, there was selling happening at this area, right? And for price to also drop at this point, you'd also agree that there was some sort of selling also at this area. And also in addition to that, last week's high, right? There was also selling at this area, right? And at this point, right, as the day is developing, right, we are actually above the average volume, right, for buyers and sellers. Okay, so anyone who is selling in this area, right, is under pressure in this zone. Okay, and if you just take a look at this swing point, right, whoever is selling, right, into this move, right, expecting the gap fill, right, to close in, right, when we are in this region, right, those sellers are losing money. Okay, and if you just take a look at this high, right, that formed, right, now when we are in this region, right, whoever sold in this area is also losing money. So on average, sellers are actually under pressure, and their positions are actually negative, and all the buyers, right, are actually in a very strong position, right? So what do we get now when we break above this volume, right? These sellers are the first sellers to be threatened, okay? These sellers still have a chance, right, of price trading lower, and it very well could, okay? But these are the sellers that are threatened currently, okay? Remember, when you're looking at the market, the most recent price action is key, okay? So these sellers are actually under pressure, and what you get is a situation whereby we get sellers coming in, right, in this area, right? And you can see it because price is reacting, right? You get price coming up and then trading off. You get price coming up and then trading off. You get price coming up and then trading off, right? So we have additional selling happening, right, in this region, right? But they can't seem to move price lower, and that's because we have buyers at higher prices, right? So they are selling, right? And all the buyers who are coming in below price are absorbing all the selling that's coming in, okay? And they are basically holding price higher. So these buyers are basically accumulating from these sellers, okay? And once you see this, right, that's an indication that sellers cannot push price lower, and because we have buyers at higher prices, we can expect these sellers to give up their position, right? And that's basically going to drive price higher. When these guys capitulate, right, they're going to puke their position up, right? They're underwater at this moment and they're under pressure, right? When they give up their position, right, price is going to expand higher, okay? Right? So once we see this happening, right, this accumulation, right, we have a high probability that these sellers are going to give up their position, okay? And that's actually the sign that we're going to be looking for buys. Okay, and if you actually think about it, right, if these guys give up their positions, right, these sellers have to basically give up their position by buying, right? So when they give up their position, right, their buying is going to drive price higher, and it's going to drive price higher to the next level, right? And it's going to further put these guys under pressure, right? And when these guys give up their position, right, it's going to drive price higher to the next level, okay? And when these guys give up their position, okay, it's going to drive price higher to the next level. And then now when these guys give up their sell positions, it's going to drive price higher, okay? And basically that's the cascading effect that occurs, right, from contrarian traders basically capitulating their positions, and that's what creates the momentum in the market, right, or the speed of movement, okay? So in this scenario, right, where you're going to want to enter, okay, there are a number of ways to enter this trade, okay? But you basically want to enter when you see this happening, when you see these buyers coming in at higher prices, right? You want to enter somewhere inside this consolidation, right? Or as soon as we break this consolidation, right? But you want to try and enter before the break of this larger high, right? Because if we do break this high, there's a high probability that we're gonna get a cascading effect, right? And you don't want to be entering too far away from this area, because if price does eventually take out this high and we get selling coming in at this point, this is a very liquid area for any sellers who are interested in taking the market lower, or who believe that the market is going to go lower, right? No one really knows, but if the market does indeed go lower, this is where all the sellers will come in, because there's just so much buying liquidity at this point, right, that they can accumulate their position. And it's at this point that we can expect to see price rejecting the high. That's if they're going to take price lower. Okay, and you never really know that. So if you're going to enter this trade, right, you want to enter knowing that you can at least have a good risk to reward on your trade, right, just by taking the trade towards the larger high, right, and just trading for the stop run, and everything else is extra. Okay, so you want to enter, right, as low as possible. Okay, right, so we're going to want to enter just before we break out of that um, first swing point, right? Anything after that would drastically affect your risk reward, and you run the risk of having a larger stop, and you give up a lot of your edge. Okay, so that's basically how Euro USD played out today, right? And we did eventually break out of that high, and we got a lovely expansion going higher. And if you look at where price went to, right? If you've watched my Fibonacci video, you would understand where I would be looking for price to reverse, right? Your first target would be at this point, right? Firstly, your target would be at the break of this high, right? And anything extra, right? Your second target would be at this point, and then your third target would be at a one-to-one of the previous balance area. And you can see how beautifully price rejected off that area, right? And then all the mean reversion traders, all the contrarians now, right, are making money in this move, right, for reversion back to the mean. Okay, and that's basically what happened on Euro USD today, right? And it'll also be important to highlight that where price turned was very close to a round figure level. Okay, so a lot of liquidity at this level, right? We didn't quite hit that level, right? A lot of traders came in to front run that level. Okay, they'll often do that. Okay, when price gets close to a level, because they are always competing for the liquidity, right? And obviously the most liquidity is at these round levels. Okay, so what usually happens is that when price gets close to the level, right, you get a lot of selling coming in before price reaches the level. Okay, because if they're anticipating for price to actually take out the level, okay, they might not get into the trade. Okay, as you can see in this situation, price didn't touch that level, and if you were waiting for, if any large institution or any large trader was waiting for price to enter their trade in this area, right, they would have missed out on their trade. So oftentimes they front run the level. Not always. If you just take a look at this previous situation, it actually traded into that level, and then we got that accumulation occurring just above the level, right? Because all the liquidity is here, right? So they can get all their trade on, and you can see price reversed off, and we pull back, we got a retest and continue to trade lower. Okay, now hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you learned a lot from it. And until next time, that'll do. Take care.